My name is Leatherface. I'm on the keto diet.
Yes, he is. Although it hasn't done him any good. Well, look. Well, I'll tell you what.
He's always been portly.
That is the skinniest. That is the skinniest Leatherface I've had. Look at it.
I know. Look, he's fit.
He's wearing skinny jeans.
He's looked like he's been P90Xing.
He's been on the.
You know, he's showing off his gluteus.
You know,
He's on the keto diet.
He's doing all that running, chasing after chicks.
He cut out carbs.
So when I grew up in Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere, you hear about movies. You'd hear of them.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. But there was no way that I was going to be able to see any of these movies because the local mom and pop video store in Mount Carmel, PA, is not going to have I Spit on Your Grave or Gore Girls or anything like that.
Or Chopping Mall.
Chopping Mall, no.
From Beyond.
No, so you were kind of limited, but I always just would hear about these things, right? And in the ether, I heard about this movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Okay.
And it was just like, oh my God, you got to see this movie because they got the flying saucers and you see the strings. They're in a graveyard and they actually knock over the tombstone. They're like made of cardboard. I'm like, I got to see this movie. I got to see this train wreck. Well, of course, it's Ed Wood. And finally, I saw it, right? And I was thoroughly entertained by it. Because it's one of those things, like, you watch it the first time, like, oh my God, look at, there's the strings.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Elvira literally just knocked over a tombstone with her dress. Like, it was literally, like the crosses and the things were made out of cardboard. And you're like, and then I ended up watching the movie again. And then I'd watch it again.
And it becomes a comfort film.
And then again. And there was a point, and I remember it was like the 90s. It was me and my buddy Jay that we'd watched like Plan 9 from Outer Space like over and over and over again. And we'd catch things that like other people wouldn't even notice. And it got to a point where like I liked the movie. Like I enjoyed the movie. Unironically. And that's not the only one. A big thing for me too was like the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies.
Right.
Blood Feast, Gore Girls, Picture Me Blood Red. And you watch and you're like, oh my God, the gore is like beyond ridiculous. Why do we like these movies? Why do we like movies that are just not well made? They're bad. What is it?
Because there is a whole other sense of enjoyment in watching something that is so bad that it's good. That is something that I think is lost on a lot of people. Because a lot of people, when they go to a movie and it's bad, they want their money back. They're like, I'm being ripped off.
Yeah.
No. There is something when you are listening to bad dialogue.
Yeah.
With wooden acting mixed with terrible special effects.
Yeah.
There is something so endearing about it if you capture it. Because that is somebody who sold a family heirloom. That is somebody who maxed out credit cards. He put a second mortgage on his house because he had this idea in his head that wasn't backed by a studio, that wasn't, brought together by a bunch of writers. No, he's like, I'm going to make this. And he made it. And when you watch it, yes, it's awful, but it's wonderful at the same time because I guarantee you will always remember Plan 9 from Outer Space, which I believe came out in 1959.
Oh my God, yeah.
Can you tell me, would you rather watch that or whatever won Best Picture in 1959? What year did The Room come out?
Oh my God, The Room
90, what was that,
I think
98?
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
I think it's early 2000s.
Okay, we'll say early 2003.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That sounds about right, actually. I mean,
Okay.
It's like the early 2000s.
Would you rather watch The Room or whatever won Best Picture that year? Like, I believe it was Chicago.
Give me The Room any day.
Any day. We will watch The Room over and over again because it's so bad. It's brilliant. You aren't going to see that in a blockbuster movie. You know, when a blockbuster movie comes out, or just any movie that comes out in the multiplex, it's Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, and it's amazing. Yeah. It's great, but we've seen it. Yes, it's amazing. It's Hollywood. Hollywood makes amazing things, but when you watch something from the 80s like Dolls or The Toxic Avenger.
The Toxic Avenger. Oh
the Toxic God. Avenger. Here's the thing. Back then, I was probably like 8, 9.
Yeah.
Probably 8 or 9. And I'm a full horror movie fan by this point. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
Not
Halloween.
Not bad horror movies, but good
horror movies. Yeah. And then my uncle brings The Toxic Avenger. And it's just a whole new world. You download that onto your pristine hard drive, and you're like...
Now, when you watched the Toxic Avenger for the first time, did you know that it was going to be like a B movie, like a bad
No,
movie?
I didn't know what I was expecting.
So
I thought it was just going to be some really insane horror movie. And I saw things in that movie I've never seen before. But I remember specifically what I remember about that. I mean, other than it was badly acted, is how cruel... the bullies were. I remember they were very cruel and like evil.
Oh yeah.
And they couldn't have casted a better nerd than whoever they casted as Melvin.
Do you think when someone makes these movies, do you think like when Ed Wood made Plan 9 from Outer Space, so like he's like, all right, I'm going to intentionally make this bad. Did he not care?
No.
Didn't he go back and do?
He set out to make a master. He set out to make a great. I mean, I've watched the movie Ed Wood.
Yeah.
And I've seen a bunch of documentaries. No, he wanted to make a sci-fi movie, and he had a script. I mean, they all go out. I think the only one that I can think of was the director of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, who was kind of making a satire on B movies.
So what you're saying is like, well, I know
he went out to deliberately like make. Fun of B movies with a B movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, I know for like if you've seen like Tommy Wiseau when he did The Room, like I read the book and then obviously I saw the movie that
he did not intend for it to.
He did not intend
become
for it
what it became.
No, he thought that this was going to be an amazing movie.
Yeah,
and obviously, and then he realized that I think he embraced the fact that it's like, oh, people, they're loving this, but not for the right reasons. Oh well, people are still watching anyway. Because the funny thing is at the end of the day, if people are still throwing down their $10 or whatever to go see the movie, doesn't matter if you like it,
exactly,
hate it,
and that's the beauty.
The ticket's sold.
Exactly, and that's the beauty about B movies. We will watch these over and over again. You cannot tell me that you would want to watch what won Best Picture, 7 years ago.
No, I don't even know.
You don't care, but I guarantee you'll pop in Pink Flamingos.
Oh my God, yeah.
You'll watch that over and over again. And when that came
Would you consider... Okay, well, hold on. Let's talk about John Waters. Would you consider John Waters... Are they B movies?
I want to say it's in the B movie camp because he was an outside renegade filmmaker.
Oh my God,
at the time. He did a lot of stuff. A lot of his early stuff with Divine was very just...
Yeah.
Off the wall. And a lot of people, it was too weird for people.
Actually, very experimental.
It was too much for people to take. And I've watched horror movies like that, There was a whole surge of Japanese horror movies that I sat through. And, you get to a point when you're kind of like, am I... This is kind of like an endurance contest, Am I actually having a good time?
Well, everyone, when you talk about John Waters, like everyone talks about Pink Flamingos because that's his most popular. But I found the one Desperate Living.
Oh yeah,
is the one that makes me want to take a shower after watching it.
There's a lot of stuff that makes you feel gross, and a lot of people weren't ready for John Waters when it first came out. But you'll watch that. 1975, there's a lot of great movies that came out in 75, but people are still watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was a salute to B movies.
Is it?
Oh God, it was a complete homage to like sci-fi.
But would you consider it a B movie though?
I would. I do.
Because it is a well-made movie, right? Is right? Yeah, I'd say. I mean, it looks...
the music was fantastic. I love the music. The acting.
Well, of course, the music's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, you have
always
some.
consider it.
I mean, you have some original characters and stuff like that. But to me, I mean, I guess I'd consider it a B movie by default. But I wouldn't put Rocky Horror Picture Show in the same genre as
I
same
always
vein
put it
as
in
like.
the same genre because when that movie came out, it was a major flop.
Oh, was it?
Oh God, it was a terrible disappointment. It was huge, but look at what it's become. That's what makes B movie. That's what gives B movies, in my opinion, the power that they have.
What's that?
These movies come out, they're kind of overlooked, or they're ignored. They're not given much attention, but there's a small audience that clings on to it over time. It becomes this huge thing. And it becomes bigger than anything that was popular in 75, other than, like what Jaws or things like that. But movies do that. They gain that cult audience. Phantom of the Paradise. That was made in 74. That's Brian De Palma. Again.
Brian De Palma did
Phantom of the Paradise. And it's
That's
glorious.
That's a weird movie.
It's brilliant, and
That
it's
is a
brilliant. That's one of
weird
my
movie.
favorite movies of all times, and that's something that you can ease. It could come out today, and I would be, floored by it. But it's not gonna capture the.
Do you think?
I don't think the main movie-going audience has the attention span for things like that.
Do you think the reason why we like B movies is not necessarily because they're bad, right? But maybe the reason why we like them is because we're dealing with an original idea.
It is an original idea.
And it's like a movie where you're like, well, I haven't, like Phantom of the Paradise. Well, I haven't seen a movie like that before.
Yeah.
or like, well, even like I'm thinking, and the reason I'm thinking of like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. There is no movie like that.
No, there isn't. Came from somebody's imagination. What screenwriters and aspiring directors have to go through these days to get there's a lot of original ideas out there, but to get it through the Hollywood machine, I can only imagine what hell that is, and there's probably a lot of lost art out there because they can't afford to get that out there. So that's why when we see these movies, B movies, where they have budgeted it themselves, Night of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah.
That was a guy, he put his money together, he went out there and filmed it, he had an idea, and it freaked people out on such a...
Oh, the original Night of the Living Dead?
The original Night of the Living Dead. Nobody saw that coming.
The more I'm thinking about it, I think the reason why we love B movies, well, I guess it comes down to budget.
Budget, yeah.
Yeah, usually someone who has this crazy original idea isn't going to have the money to make the movie that they'd want to make, so they're going to make the movie that they can make.
No, they sold a family heirloom.
It kind of reminds... You know what? It kind of reminds me of punk rock.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of punk rock. It's like, well...
You use what you have.
Yeah, you may not have like the best guitar or the best equipment, but you got the ideas. You might not even be able to play the guitar very well, but at least you can play those 3 chords, and you're going to go through it.
In the late 90s, they did a great thing. A couple of film directors started thinking outside the box with, these movies that are made, and it's just, poor production, that poor camera work. That, where you have no lighting, you have nothing. A couple of directors started making B movies that actually became a juggernaut. Found footage horror movies.
You talk about the Blair Witch Project?
The Blair Witch. You talk about, okay, we're making our own movie, but let's turn it into this found footage thing. Granted, a hoax, viral marketing, just genius, but that became a whole slew of movies that came out. And you want to talk about movies that make money. Those Paranormal Activity movies, they made probably altogether, those movies probably cost like maybe $100,000. It's probably, all of them probably have made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Just...
Well, they're not expensive to make.
They're not expensive to make. That's like that is something that Hollywood didn't catch on to at all. These guys, they were just making these like found footage, movies, and everybody lined up to see them, and they were great. I love those Paranormal Activity. I mean, it gets ridiculous after a while, but the first ones, that first Blair Witch, I loved it. I thought that was.
Oh, I love the Blair Witch.
I thought that was great, but that's it's that style of film. That's just an example of people taking that filmmaking, that low budget filmmaking, and thinking outside the box. Like, what can we do with this to raise the bar? And they did it in spades. That was genius.
Yeah. So you may be asking yourself, how can I join the Tiki Goth Club? Well, there is no membership. There are no fees. But I have shirts for sale. They're $20 a piece, $5 shipping and handling. If you're interested, go to my website, tikiwithray.com. There's a prompt that says buy a shirt. Follow that. And then that's how you can get your own. Want to impress your goth friends the next time you come over to your tiki bar? Serve them Mai-Tais out of my Tiki Goth Club glasses. They're only $15. Head over to tikiwithray.com to buy your own. My favorite B-movie director would be Ed Wood. It has to be. And I went on to watch like everything that I could get my hands on. And it's one of those things where it's like it goes beyond just the movies. I learned about him. You learn about, because his life, is very unique. With everything. And this is even before, I'd learned and read about all this stuff and watched documentaries on Ed Wood, like even before the movie came out. And you're like Ed Wood, Plan 9 from Outer Space, they're like intermingled,
Right.
A lot of the times, like the director, the guy who makes these movies, is intertwined with the actual movie itself. So.
Well, a lot of those 50s movies, one of the first movies that I consider, the 50s, I want to say, well, that's not necessarily true. I want to say they kind of spawned the B movie.
Yeah.
Because you had movies like Them. This was like you had, Attack of the Crab Monster, But one of my first, and it's a universal horror movie, but it is very B, is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Really? Gilman.
So is that what this is made for? To whichever figure you want to.
It's my pedestal for my little.
For whatever one we're going to talk about.
No, actually, I've never done that before until now, and it fits fucking perfectly. There he is, Gilman. But no, Gilman. When you watch Creature from the Black Lagoon, it's such a B movie, and this was a major Universal horror release. But
is it really?
Oh God. They're banking off him being an underwater dwelling creature.
Okay.
But it's a lot of just bad underwater photography of the swimmer just doing this, and Julie Adams swimming, and he's just kind of like tickling her feet, which is what I would totally do if I was a creature monster. Just like, but that's what it is. You watch it whenever it goes to the underwater scenes. It's like a bad synchronized diver just in a rubber outfit. Just
I have to go back and watch it.
Oh God, it's brilliant.
No, well, actually,
and that's the reason why I like.
Most of the violence is when he's above the water.
No, yeah, the majority of and all he really does is just grab people and jump in the water. That's what he does. There's his threat. But no, when you watch Creature from the Black Lagoon, he's just swimming like this. And he's
whoever the actor was.
And then you see the actress. She's like, and he's just underneath her, like grabbing at her feet. And then I'm like, I could watch that over and over and over again because it's so bad, but it's great at the same time. You're just like, I always think of those 50s. It's the drive-in double feature. And God, there's tons of. But they even had them earlier. Like movies like The Raven.
Oh, The Raven.
There are these little quick 60-minute movies. They're just really quick, short, to the point. Every sequel that came after like the main Universal horror movies, like The Mummy's Hand, or The Mummy's Tomb.
We couldn't afford to get the whole mummy.
Yeah,
but we got his hand.
And it's like you get the first The Mummy with Lon Chaney and the makeup or Boris
Karloff.
Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
What am I saying, dude? But the thing about The Mummy is Lon Chaney played the Mummy too. They all kind of like played each other. Like Lon Chaney, he played Frankenstein.
Yep.
And Boris Karloff, he played the Wolfman, and
Yes,
they
they
all
did.
intermingled each other. But it's like you get that first movie with Boris Karloff as the Mummy,
Yeah.
and you get some pretty good acting, and you get a great film. But then there's like 4 movies after it, and it is the worst acting. It's terrible, and the makeup effects, you could tell that production budget went right down because it literally went to a mask with like a blocked out eye, and it was just there was like none of Jack Pierce's makeup was even involved anymore. It was just like a rubber mask, and there's something endearing about that. I like that, just how bad something can get. It's really good. And that's what happens to a lot of these movies when there's one that freaking hits it out of the park,
Yeah.
man, and then you just kind of slowly start getting there, but it's kind of entertaining to watch just how bad something can get.
You nail it on the head right there. What'd you just say?
Entertainment.
It's entertaining to watch something
To see how it's entertaining to see how bad something can get.
Yeah, like this episode.
Like when you
you came up with this profound statement. I'm like, oh my god, that statement's great. What is it?
and then it just floated away.
It's important to watch a
that
train wreck come to life.
We hit a home run. We have this great idea, and then it just fucking flies away like a balloon at Disneyland. Every time I'm at Disneyland and I see that balloon, that Mickey Mouse balloon flying towards the sun, I laugh my fucking ass off because I know there's a kid just screaming and crying. When I was a kid, when I was 14, I used to make movies.
Yeah.
With my camcorder, I had no editing equipment. I would talk all my friends, we're going to spend all night making this movie. And they're like, yeah, we're going to make a movie. And I had a script in mind. I'd have my friends learn their lines. I would play director, freaking, line producer,
Yeah.
making sure everybody's got their shit together, and also I'm in it, music. My sister's like behind me with a boombox playing the music.
That's the music.
Because I was so passionate about this. Most people are, they're smoking pot and listening to Phantom Lord by Metallica. I'm in my apartment complex filming. My idea was there was going to be a shot head, a blown up head. I stole 3 pounds of hamburger from McDonald's where I worked at, thawed it out, and molded a head, and thought, if I stick a firecracker in it, I'm going to get this great plug, And so it's like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I've molded this head out of hamburger meat.
Yeah.
And I put a fucking M80 in it. And I start filming, light it, go. And all you see is a flash. And hamburger is all over the hallway of the apartment complex, not like my mom and dad's apartment, like out in the front.
Shit.
Everybody's like door is covered in hamburger. And my dad comes out, and we're still filming, and my dad comes out, what the fuck is going on? Why is there hamburger all over the fucking place?